Welcome to Caleb's Basketball Pod. We're coming off of breaking news. We just seen that the Denver Nuggets let go of head coach Mike Malone and the general manager. At this point, especially when you're getting ready to go into the playoffs, you're the fifth seed, you're the Denver Nuggets. Why you would want to go into the playoffs with possibly Jokic's best career year ever, multiple-time MVP already, possibly his best season ever, and now you go into the playoffs without that leadership. You do not have that coach, you do not have that leader. I don't understand the firing of Mike Malone. He won Denver a championship 2 years ago as the head coach. I think he's a good coach. I think maybe he's not playing some of the younger players as much as he could, but even with that said, a lot of the roster and the rotation goes on what the general manager gave him by letting go of some of their really good players from the championship team. Bruce Brown, Jeff Green, KCP, just to name a few. You let these guys go, they were big parts of your championship team. And you let them walk and you got nothing for them, and then now you're trying to replace it. The only significant move they've made in free agency really since winning the championship was signing Russell Westbrook, and that's been working well. It's been decent, but you also have to look at, they probably have not signed Russell Westbrook if it wasn't for Jokic pushing for that. He saw a really good, really competitive player, former All-Star, former MVP, that could be available on like a vet minimum because of Denver not having a lot of money and not having any bid rights on to players outside of your organization. He saw a shot to get a player that, again, as I just mentioned, is some of his accolades, and he pushed for it. He wanted Denver to do that. They did that. Some would say they did that please Jokic, but they still did it, and that's really the only significant move since winning the championship. That is a problem in my opinion, and again, I see why they let go of a general manager, but with that said, a lot of that could be coming from ownership. We see how guys win a championship, or guys sign all these players to these big contracts, and they realize what they're stuck with. Once they realize what they're stuck with, they either don't want the team anymore, or they try to cut down and not pay as much. They keep the team and they cut down on these players to not pay as much. That is a bit of a problem, and we're seeing it a lot. And with the salary cap going up in the NBA, we're probably going to see it more. We've seen the Celtics just got sold recently, which again goes to, you win a championship, you pay all this money to keep all these players, and now you're stuck paying this huge, enormous luxury tax bill, and some owners just don't want to keep doing that. So we see some owners let go of the team or start to let go of some of the players. Denver did. Their ownership didn't let go of the team. They started letting go of some of the players. And that may reflect on the management, but if he's being given orders from above, and he can't go past this certain money amount no matter who he is, even if it's his own players, because ownership don't want to pay that luxury tax, and he has to do what he has to do. So we don't know all of that, but from the outside looking in, you would say, okay, I get the general manager. And for me, I do not get Mike Malone. I think he is a really good coach, a really good leader. He's been a champion. Like I said, he's a championship coach. In my opinion, he is a good enough coach, most definitely, to be a head coach in the NBA. And to be a head coach of a contending team in the NBA. And he was, and he has been for the last few years. And now it's just odd looking in and being like, Mike Malone's not coaching the Nuggets. That's odd, and it's very odd timing. They have lost 4 straight, but they still currently sit at the 5th seed. I think that's just, we saw the Taylor Jenkins release earlier a couple weeks ago with Memphis. We've seen Memphis sink since letting go of Taylor Jenkins. But Taylor Jenkins also got an unfair shake. When he was hired by Memphis, he didn't even get pick his assistant coaches, his coaching staff. Memphis hired him and then hired his assistants as if they were hiring his replacements right in front of him. So when we let you go, we want this guy to take over, and that's tough. That's a hard spot for the coach to be put in. Real quick, it's no secret, and I've spoke on here before, that my goal is to be a head coach in the NBA one day. That'd be like the top. That's what we're going for. Also love to be just analyst and be able to talk about the NBA. But with that said, I'm going to talk about the coaching aspect of this. Because we see that now these coaches, Taylor Jenkins had Memphis in it, had them fighting for high seeds and a shot to compete for a championship if you could get out of the first round. And I don't believe that's all on him, them not getting out of the first round. But he did get let go. We saw Mike Malone, a former NBA champion head coach, today just let go. What does that mean for coaches? I think there's a lot of blame right now being put on coaches. And I think with that said, you need to bring a different perspective when you're coaching. I don't think necessarily being a conventional coach is it anymore. I think you have to bring an unconventional style of coaching to the NBA now. Much like, I want to say, J.J. Redick's done with the Lakers, Kenny Atkinson's done with the Cavs. I think you need to bring a different style of coaching and have your system, have players on your team, your captains, that want to fit in and want to step up and be a part of this system. And when that happens, they will get everyone else to follow. Once you start implementing that system, your system, and everyone follows, I think it's not to say you're safe, because anything can happen and it doesn't necessarily mean you are safe, but that goes a long way towards job security. And I'm not saying Taylor Jenkins or Mike Malone don't have that. I'm saying maybe, as we've heard in Taylor Jenkins, when speaking on him, John Morant was not bought into his offense. We don't know exactly who all was bought into Mike Malone's offense, because we know when Jokic was off the floor, the offense was not good. And the plus minus of the whole team was historically bad. And with those facts, it would make you wonder if maybe anyone else besides Nikola Jokic is bought into that system. We don't even know if Jokic is necessarily bought in, or if he's just so good he can make anything look good or improv his own thing. So I think that's where it starts. You have to be creative. You have to step in and you have to come in with your own system. You have to get the leaders of the team to buy into this system. Once that's done, you start implementing it, you start doing it. Once everyone's bought in, you have a little bit more wiggle room. You also have to be able to have this open line of communication with your players, I believe. And I also believe, despite what Mike Budinger said, I do think you have to be a little bit of a psychiatrist. I do think you have to know how to talk to players, know how to talk to people in general, know what makes this guy tick, know what makes that guy tick, know how you get the best out of all players at all times, know what to say to each player, know that talking to this guy is different than talking to that guy. I believe there's a lot of that goes into it. This is from a little bit of a coaching that I've done in general, of course not with pro players, but just people in general, a little bit of a coaching, some of the schooling I've done, being a communication major that's about talking to people. I believe that all goes into it. And I think once you get some of that, it helps you go a long way. But I think the other thing is you have to go into expecting you can lose your job at any point. And I think that's the fun and that's the challenge of it. If you can be creative enough where they're just like, we can't lose you because your game plans are so precise, so creative, so there, then you're good. But if you aren't and they're just like, well, he's not even coaching that well, he's doing this or he's doing that, or his defense is this or his offense is that. Once you have that and once you start hearing that, I believe that's the beginning of the end. I think the job and the challenge is to be so creative you don't hear that. And that's difficult to do, and even if you're doing everything you feel you possibly can, you still may hear it, but it's blocking out that noise, being you, getting the team to buy in, winning games, and at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. With that said, I just want to say, people would look and say, well, now it seems like a really, really hard time to be a coach in the NBA. I would look at it and say, now is the time I really, really want to go for it, because it seems like a challenge and I'm down for the challenge. And that's, again, at the end of the day, that's what I'm coming to do. And I embrace this challenge, and I embrace the fact that coaches are not having as long of tenures as they used to. And I embrace that you have to be creative and you have to be that guy they can't go without. If you want to keep your job, I think that's great and more of a challenge, and by all means, bring you on. But that's just my opinion on it, and I think a lot more other guys are going to have somewhat close to that same mindset to make it in the NBA as a coach, because we're seeing a lot of changeover in coaches. We're seeing guys that want coaches be head coaches. We're seeing assistant coaches get to be head coaches. We're seeing assistant coaches leave somewhere as an assistant coach and go somewhere else as an assistant coach. We're just seeing a lot of turnover with coaching. Some of it's working, some of it's not, but that's the challenge. Embrace the challenge, embrace the fight, and bring it. And I believe that's what you have to do, and that's how you make it in the league, player, coach, whatever. So, yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Thank you for watching this episode, a little bit of the coaching breakdown, the firing of Mike Malone. Again, shocking, and I don't think it's the right move for Denver. I think you're almost throwing this season out the door, and that's sad with the season Jokic has had. But we'll see. Only time will tell. I hope for the best for the Nuggets, and thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you on the next episode.